Morning guys, so we are going to look at solving trigonometric equations. So if I was to ask you to solve this, what would you do? I have a feeling a lot of you would reach for your trusty calculator and you should get something similar to this. Okay, so that is an answer. Is it the whole of the answer though? No, it can't be, because if that was the whole of the answer, Miss Colson wouldn't be asking you to do it. Okay, so you probably noticed Desmos is that side. Maybe I'm going to ask you to use it. Yes, I am. So what you need to start doing is if you click on Start Graphing, and then it should just open up to Desmos for you. What I would want you to do is to plot this graph. So I'm just going to put y equals sine x. Okay, you will notice this graph is not the nicest of graphs to read, and going all the way up to 360 on this x-axis just doesn't look feasible. Okay, when you are going into Desmos, you need to remember this is degrees, this is not degrees. So initially you need to set up these graphs. I would probably say make sure you take screenshots so you can get the appropriate notes taken out and taken down, sorry. And then you don't have to redraw these graphs yourself. Okay, but we don't want radians. So I'm going to change some of the settings. So in the top right hand side, you will notice there is a spanner that says graph settings. So I'm going to click on that. Okay, so you've got a whole bunch of things. The important thing is right at the bottom, I want degrees. I don't want radians. Okay, degrees is what we are working with, so degrees is what you want to do. You will also notice they have given me the range, so I'm going to work with that range. The y-axis, I'm only going to put it up to 2, and then I'm going to have -2. This will just mean that the graph doesn't look too big on the page, but it's a nice size. Okay, and then the x will be your angle. Okay, so you would do 360 and then you would say 0 on this side. Okay, and this graph now corresponds with this. Okay, and just so you are aware of what the graph looks like, you can go to any number of degrees. So say if I said 1000 or something, let's just go for 1000. You might notice this about the graph. It's quite an important detail about trigonometry. You will notice that it just oscillates. Okay, so the sine graph oscillates, the cosine graph oscillates, and the tan graph also repeats itself. So you'll notice that about all three graphs. That is an important factor to remember when you are looking at trig. But for now, we only want the one cycle because that is what this question specifies. Okay, so when looking at this graph, all you need to do is just read across what each of these values are. So you can click on the graph at exact positions and it will give you the exact corresponding. So I've got this, but you should just be able to read it from there. So I'm just doing a sketch. Obviously, it's not as lovely as that graph there. But I need to find out where it equals a half. So I'm going to, this is y equals sine x. Okay, I am going to plot y equals a half. Okay, and how do you find the answers when you plot two graphs? It's like simultaneous equations. You look at where they intersect, and where they intersect is your answer. So this is an intersection that is 30 degrees. This is an intersection that is 150 degrees. You should just be able to read it from that graph. If you did want to plot both of those graphs, then obviously you should have this. The only reason why I'm minimizing this is so you can see the graph a bit better. But you can just plot another graph and put y equals 0. right? So that would be the intersection that I'm looking for, and these are the answers. If you click on them, you do notice a little box comes up, or you just hover over them and it will tell you what those values are. So I've got 30 degrees and I've now got the second one of 150. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. And then all you need to do for any of these, so if I did have another one where I asked you the question where I said cosine theta equals a half, and I know the angle is between 0 and 720, what would you do? So all you need to do is just exactly the same thing. Just turn these graphs off, just click on those, just there. I want y equals cosine x. And I still want that y equals a half because I've got a half right here. If I had a different value, then I'd be reading off that, but I've got a half right there. So I'm going to click on those. And then I'm going to say, where are the intersections? So the intersection is here, which is 60 degrees, right there. And then this one, which is 300. So my answer should be 60 degrees and 300. Some of you may have gone, oh no, that isn't right, because that does say 720. So in order to change this, what I need to do is go back to that spanner, and then instead of x going to 360, I'm going to say x to 720. Okay, and then you read off these ones as well. So my next answers would then be 420 degrees. And then I've also got 660 degrees. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So I'm just going to set you some questions. I'm going to say use Desmos to help you. It's a nice, easy way of looking at how visual the trig graphs are, and how you can actually start solving equations with them. So if you did just want to look at what the graphs would be between 0 and 360, then you can do so. I've prepped it on a different one. Okay, so this is what sine looks like. It's the purple one. Okay, this is what cosine looks like. So when you see them both together, you'll notice it's a transformation of each other. One is just a shift of 90 degrees to the other one. Okay, and then tangent looks very different. So if you notice tangent, it does look very different from both of them, because tangent is sine divided by cos. So a nicer way of seeing tangent between 0 and 360 looks like that. I would say make sure you have each of the graphs separately. I would personally take a screenshot of it and make sure I have it within my notes, because these graphs are quite important to recognize and to know. Okay, so for today, I'm only going to ask you to work with Desmos and figure out these. And then next lesson, we're going to use a different method to also do it. Sometimes these graphs are a better way to work. Sometimes the cast diagram, which we're going to look at next time, is a better way of looking at the work. So depending on how you are working it out, you should be able to understand both of them. Especially if you're going towards further maths and A-level, because they will be part of it, and it's good to know. Okay, so I'm just going to give you a bunch of questions. You'll have it within the angles, and all you need to do, I'd recommend using Desmos. It's a nice, easy way of doing it. So whatever this equals, so say if I had sine theta equals, I don't know, I'm just going to call it n. Okay, the two graphs you need to have for that is the one graph I would have is y equals sine x, and then the second graph I would have is y equals whatever that number is there. Okay, and once you see the intersections, it will just be going through that example. That's all you need to do. Okay, but you do need to get used to it. The big thing is worrying about what the actual angles are here, which will account for how many different intersections you have. So have a nice day. Do take care. Toodles.